Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a reading vlog, sort of, and doing other things vlog, but mostly the goal of this video is to read an entire book in a day because my Libby app is like, all of your holds are ready, and I'm like, I don't have enough room in my loans, so I need to finish a book today. And that book is going to be Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. We have my copy here of Pride and Prejudice, one of my copies. I have a couple copies, but this is the one I have at this house, and it's the paper mill press version of it. It's very pretty, and I like it a lot. As you can see, I just showered, FYI, in case you couldn't tell already by my wet hair. Every month now, I'm going to be kind of posting a poll, which a lot of you already voted on, with all the books in my TBR, and seeing which one you would like to see a reading vlog about. So like, I'll do live updates as I read Pride and Prejudice here. I'll be listening to it while doing some other things. It is a 12-hour and 20.5-minute book, and based on the fact that I read at 1.75 speed. Oh wow, you can see the camera back. It'll probably take me about 7 hours to finish this one, so I can do 7 hours in a day while I'm working on other stuff. I need to clean up my room a bit, so that's what we're gonna do first while we're listening. I have a live stream today at noon, so we'll pause reading for that live stream, and then we'll continue forward, but we're gonna do some other tasks. I have a bunch of tasks in my jar of tasks, but I already drew the first task I'll be working on while we're starting, and that's going to be sewing, because I have a bunch of sewing projects here because I've been making a thing. This is a finished one of a thing. I'm not going to tell you what the thing is though, because people who are receiving these things may in fact be watching this, and I will be working on sewing all of those up while we do this, and then we'll do the stream and we'll switch gears after the stream, and we'll continue getting through P&P. I mean, I love Pride and Prejudice so much. I love the story of it, but I've never like read the book, which is like such a fake fan thing to do. But I have watched all the different movie adaptations, TV adaptations, web series adaptations. I've read a few different, you know, adaptations in books. Like I did Date with Darcy, which is really great. I really like that one. And I have a bunch more on my shelf to read. And it's just one of my favorite stories because it's just that classic enemies to lovers trope that I love so very much. We have a really strong characters, and a random person is calling me. We are declining that. So Pride and Prejudice, it's my book and I love it. It's my favorite and I just love it, so we're gonna read it now. Finally, I'm no longer gonna be a fake fan, guys. You have no compassion for my poor nerves. Okay, interesting so far. We've already done the first meeting, the first like ball entrance of Darcy and Bingley, and it's actually a lot faster than it's portrayed in a lot of like the films and stuff. And the slight that happens with Darcy and Lizzie is also like, it's only mentioned as an afterthought, not afterthought, but like it's not done in dialogue or anything, so you're left to kind of speculate how that first meeting really went down, because it says that, okay, he only danced with Mrs. Hurst and Miss Bingley, and there's no real like scene there, so that's something different. Okay, we're gonna start sewing now that I've cleaned up a little bit, so I'm gonna make a whole new mess while continuing forward. Just kidding, they do go into it now. I jumped the gun, and also there's a cat on my seat, so now I can't move my seat. But Okay, so they go a little bit at the assembly, but it's all of the slighting of Lizzie and stuff that happens is gossip between Mrs. Bennet and Mrs. Lucas. So that's how we get that context. Okay. But it's not written as a full scene at the assembly, only like little tiny snippets. And it's very, I like it as gossip. It's actually like, yeah, totally. Must have a thorough knowledge of music, singing, drawing, dancing, and the modern languages. Alright, I can sing. I know some music. I can play some instruments. Drawing? Nope, I don't got that one. Dancing? Sure. Sure. And then modern languages. Well, Japanese isn't, I don't know, is it a modern language? They probably, I mean, in here they mean things like French and German, so 9. And must possess something in the manner of her air, manner of walking, and the tone of her voice. So I'm gonna go with no on that one. An address and expressions. Okay. Well, considering I have a, you know, my manner of dress is yeah, we're not gonna give myself those points. But Darcy adds she must have onto all of that. Must be improving her mind with extensive reading. Yay! How many points did that get me? Probably not enough to consider myself an accomplished woman. Sorry, I was just taking a turn about the room so as to best show off my figure for all the eligible young rich gentlemen who are in want of a wife. So hope that was sufficient for you guys. Okay, weird angle. Hello. It is almost noon, so I have to start my live stream. We've gotten to Wickham. Wickham has just started, so we're 19% done. We've listened to almost 2.5 hours, and it says that I'll be done in 6.5 hours with this, so that's nice. I did finish doing the base design sews of all of the bags that I'm making, and then next step is doing some interfacing, so for the clasps that need to be done, and then there's more sewing to be done with it. So we're gonna shift gears and do some writing on my live stream, so I won't record that. You can just see me on my live stream, all that jazz, you know. Cool. I think, here's the thing about Pride and Prejudice. If I hadn't, like, seen the BBC version, I think I wouldn't be as into it, which is sad to say. At least audiobook-wise, I think physically reading it, you'd get all of that. Because I do read it pretty fast, but because I know, like, what the subtleties of the language are made because I've seen it presented to me, I might not have gotten the same effect of it through an audiobook. So that's the thing about classics, is because if you don't already like know the storyline, they can be really hard to follow because of the language used in it. But because this is Pride and Prejudice, because I know the story pretty well, I am thoroughly enjoying myself. I feel like I'm just listening to the BBC version of it with Colin Firth and stuff. And Jennifer L. The original OTP for me. No, second original. Anna and Gilbert are the first ones, with Megan Follows and Jonathan Crombie. That's my original OTP. Anyway, it's kind of how I feel reading classics are if you haven't been presented with it visually, at least for me. That's not the case for everybody, but it allows me to enjoy the written word more now that I have, you know, consumed so much media for it, that the language isn't lost on me. Whereas if I had never touched a classic before and I'd never heard of Pride and Prejudice, I probably would be really lost. But thankfully, I'm not. Okay, so my live stream is over. It's 2:38. I've had some lunch. I'm still listening to it. We are at 29% done, and we've just gotten to Collins's proposal. We've done the bowl at Netherfield, and it's just great. We just got to the line of, "Your mother will never speak to you again unless you marry Mr. Collins, and I will never speak to you again if you do." And it's like, Mr. Bennet, the best dad. Okay, so Charlotte Lucas has just accepted Mr. Collins, and I just want to put it out there that, like, canonically, it really feels like Charlotte Lucas is Arrow Ace. So, just saying that. Alright, so we are almost halfway through. We are at 43%, and we have just met Lady Catherine de Bourgh, and I freaking love these characters so much. It would be a dream of me to be able to play either Lady Catherine de Bourgh or Mrs. Bennet. Like, that's a dream role. It's my dream to play those roles. They're just so fun. I finished one bag, as you guys saw. One of them is done. I still have 4 more to do, but I'm losing steam on that. So I kind of want to just like do nothing for a little bit, and then I might work on some organization stuff. So I'm just gonna like lay on my bed and listen to Pride and Prejudice, because my brain needs a rest and my fingers need a rest from working on these, because working with these things, these snaps, it's a little tedious. It just hurts a little bit to bend them down to secure them in place, but at least I got all the interfacing done. So I'm just gonna chill for a bit while we listen, and Mr. Darcy's gonna show up any second now, so great times. Gonna get through that first proposal. just gotten through the first proposal from Darcy, and I just, wow, Elizabeth is so savage. She is savage and he's savage right back. This is one of the things where it's like, okay, so if you don't know what this part of the story is, if you've never read Pride and Prejudice, basically Darcy comes over to talk to Lizzie, basically to ask her to marry him, and he's like, I am in love with you, and it sucks that I'm in love with you because like you're poor and stuff and your family is really awful, but I am, so like marry me. And Elizabeth is like, excuse you, I think not, you're like the worst person I've ever met. And then Darcy is like, excuse you, since when? I'd like to see some receipts, please. And Lizzie of course pulls out a giant CVS receipt, and that's kind of how it goes. It's just great, even though you know, she's wrong about a lot of things, but he's wrong too. I just love it, guys. I love this book, but it's, I have to commend her, it's exactly halfway through, and my battery is dying again, so I need to switch batteries. 1 second. Okay, battery is switched. So this other point I wanted to make about this so far is that this is why the BBC version of Pride and Prejudice is superior to the Keira Knightley version that everybody loves from 2005, and I've never really liked, because it's not as accurate, especially with its character descriptions. Everyone in the 2005 one is like so much softer. Even Lizzie's mom, she's not as outlandishly crazy that she is here. And with Darcy himself, they make him so much softer, when he's a stubborn shit too, okay? He says some pretty rough things, but when they had it, I don't remember who the actor's name is, but him do it in the 2005 version, it doesn't have the same impact that Colin Firth did, because it's fairly verbatim that they are doing it. It is pretty much line for line that they are reading. There's a few exceptions, but the dialogue is like completely the same. They change it in the 2005 version. It's very different. It's softer. They're trying to make it, I don't know. They were trying to go for an aesthetic that's just like, that's not what this book is, okay? This is rough, and it's brutal and savage, and we have these two characters who are so similar that they're going to butt heads so much because they're so in love with each other, but they don't want to admit it, even though, well, Darcy does, but Lizzie doesn't until later. And I just commend, like, if you have not seen the BBC version of it, you basically be reading the book. I will say that Charlotte's whole wedding stuff is a lot longer than I realized. Otherwise, BBC really nailed it, and I am like the shiniest person in the world right now. Wow, hello. I am made of plastic, apparently. I could be in Twilight, I'm so shiny. I took a little bit of a nap while reading. Not so much that I couldn't go back and redo it, so whoops. Well, I was kind of like half asleep, but just before their little reunion at Pemberley, and I have to give credit to the audiobook narrator on this. I have to credit her because the way that she does the voice for the housekeeper at Pemberley, identical to the BBC one. It's identical. I was listening to it and I was like, did I turn on the thing? No, it's still the audiobook. I've been laying here for like an hour, a little over an hour, and I'm like, okay, I need to get back up now. But I'm probably sleepy, but it's still good. But I also, this is the reason I turned the camera on, was because I'm, the only way that Pride and Prejudice right now is losing like a corner of a star for me is because the lake scene is not real, and I'm disappointed. Like, I knew it wasn't real, but I was really hoping that I was lied to. But the Darcy jumping into a lake thing that the BBC does is not real, and he just pulls up in a carriage. He's not disheveled and not trying to rid himself of thoughts of Lizzie Bennet, but yeah, it's still a really funny reintroduction of them. So that's where I'm at right now. Her realizing that, okay, he's suddenly like nice, okay, interesting. I think I will continue working on the bags while we continue the rest of the book. We will persevere. We'll get through this together with Miss Darcy. The Lydia drama begins, and I just have to laugh that when Darcy comes back to, you know, further woo Lizzie after she just read the letters, he's like, "You're obviously not well," and he's very clearly thinking she's on her period. I've done 2 more. I've got 1 more done. Finished this one, and we are making food now, so I only have 2 more bags to make, the green ones. We're making dinner, and I'm at the point where Lydia and Wickham are now married, and I just gotta say for Lydia, like, she's portrayed, oh sorry, she is portrayed so poorly. Like, she was 15 when she met Wickham, 16 when she's kind of forced into this elopement. Granted, she thinks it's the best thing and that it's always what it's supposed to be because she's been so groomed and manipulated that you can't, like, so many people are just like, oh, Lydia's the worst, you know. And granted, right now as she's bragging about, you know, being the first Mary Bennet sister, it's not really her fault. It's something that she's gonna get that rude awakening to as she grows older, in knowing that she was set up for this, to marry a man who does not and will not love her and is a horrible person. And there's so much Lydia hate out there that you have to take a step back and be like, guys, this was not Lydia's fault. Lydia was just an ignorant teenager in a time of her life where, you know, you're supposed to make mistakes and stuff, but the mistakes in the past like this affect your entire future. And I'm curious, I kind of wish that Jane Austen had written like a sequel or something to kind of bring Lydia back into the good light and into her growing up a little bit more. I know there's a lot of other you know, adaptations and fanfics for Lydia and redeeming her, but I really wish Jane had done it. And I'm wondering if she had realized while she was writing Pride and Prejudice what she was really sentencing Lydia to. I kind of would have preferred some way to have gotten her out of it, and that Wickham alone is the one who suffers, or for a sequel where Lydia realizes this horrible thing and murders him. Obstinate, headstrong girl. Right, it is 8:18 p.m. and we have finished Pride and Prejudice. We read it all day long, and it's no surprise. 5-star book. I mean, I love it. The ending is actually a little bit different. It goes on a little bit longer. It touches a little bit more on everybody's kind of after story, which is really nice. Still want a little bit more justice for Lydia. And I was happy to see like Kitty turns out a little bit better. Mary does as well, which I actually really love. There's a play, Christmas at Pemberley, I think is what it is, that I saw with Sierra a year or 2 ago. And it focuses on Mary and her becoming more of a woman in her own love interest that I absolutely adored. So if you ever get a chance to see it, you should definitely go see it. So, I mean, Pride and Prejudice, it's a classic. I mean, it's what it is. That's why it's one of my absolute favorite stories of all time, and now I'm happy I can finally be a real fan and have said that I've now read it. And it's just great. It's just great. I mean, come on. You can't really hate Pride and Prejudice, guys. There's too many amazing characters and hilarious lines and shenanigans and drama and romance, and there's just, it's got everything. It's got it all. Now we actually will move on to Jane Eyre, because I only have, well, tomorrow I'll start Jane Eyre, and I only have 8 days to read that one. So Gotta get on some Jane Eyre, so we're moving on to Bronte Town after visiting Austinville. We'll travel back around to Austinville once we're done with Jane Eyre. And that's my reading vlog of reading Pride and Prejudice. Hope you guys enjoyed all this shenanigans and all of the quotes, and it's just great. I really probably am just gonna put on the BBC version again right now because it's really like it's the closest adaptation I've ever seen. So well done, BBC. Of course you would do it perfectly. I'm gonna stop doing a terrible British accent and clean up the kitchen because I finished eating my dinner a bit ago and I should clean that up. Okay. Thanks guys for watching. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Check out my Ko-fi page if you want to support me as a content creator. Have you read Pride and Prejudice? Tell me if you have or not. What's your favorite adaptation of P&P? And put those in the comments below, and I'll see you next time, cuties. Bye!
Obstinate, headstrong girl, I'm ashamed of you.